One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Jim Johnson. Jim is the Director of Athletics at Pitt State. Greetings, Jim. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Jim, you have a wealth of experience. You've been in college athletics for 28 years. You worked at the NCAA office. You were the athletics director at Texas A&M Commerce. You've been a commissioner of the MIAA. And you're in your 9th year running the athletics department there at Pitt State. So your experience in leadership is very wide and very broad. I wonder, being a commissioner, being at Pitt State, being in Texas A&M, the way you lead doesn't change depending on where you are, but every institution is its own entity. Talk to me about how you've had to tweak your leadership style for the different places that you go.
Well, I think certainly at the conference level, you're providing more of that leadership to administrators, and as much leadership as it's just consensus building and governance, and really our presidents lead those conferences, and so really as you're there as a resource for the presidents, for the athletic directors, but at the same time providing leadership on some level to they look to you to know the issues and know the ins and outs and to lead and guide them to make the right decision on behalf of the conference. As an athletic director, I think that's quite a bit different because you are leading an institution's athletics program. Obviously, athletics programs at least at our level, at all levels, are a highly visible part of the institution, and you're providing that not only for a coaching staff and an administrative staff, but also, in our case, 400 student athletes. So really at the conference level, there's not as much interaction with student athletes at that level as what there is at an institution. But still, it's all leadership. It's all guiding everybody for the same goals, setting those goals, and then providing our coaches, student athletes with the tools and resources they need to reach those goals.
Right. The transition when you went from, I guess it was Texas A&M Commerce to commissioner, what was the draw there between that? And then, I guess, follow that with what was the draw from commissioner down to Pitt State?
Really the draw to go from A&M Commerce to the MIAA was as much personal, probably as much as anything. I'd lived in the Kansas City area, previously working at the NCAA before the move to Indianapolis, and then moving back to the Kansas City area from Indianapolis, and worked with the MIAA a long time as an NCAA staff member and in other capacities. Really one of those jobs that I thought if that job's ever open, I would really like to be the commissioner of that league, lead that league, highlight what we believe one of the highest profile leagues in Division II, certainly from football, but not only football, basketball, baseball, softball, on down the list. So just a great bunch of people that I'd gotten to know, and so when the job came open and an opportunity to move back to Kansas City, and really a job that I'd kind of coveted over the years, I guess, and so went there with really no intention probably of leaving anytime soon, and 3 short years later, an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh State as athletic director at what I believe is, and we believe, is a really model Division II program. We really think we really embody what Division II is all about at Pittsburgh State. And great president, great bunch of coaches that I'd gotten to know being commissioner. Knew they had great student athletes, great community support for the athletics program and for the institution in Pittsburgh is really unparalleled, I believe. And so again, it's just, it's all about opportunities, things you don't expect, but situations you realize, boy, I'd like to be a part of that. And again, a little bit personal with, at the time, 2 young boys at home, the opportunity to have a team to cheer for, trying to convince them on what the principle of neutrality meant was a little difficult to do. So anyway, with any move I think any of us make over the course of our career, there's always lots of reasons why, but primarily that was really the reasons for those 2 moves.
Of course, the institutions and organizations you talked about, Pitt State, I mean, there's talking about traditions of history. It's like football, right? I'm a football guy. Traditions of history of longtime coaches who won a whole lot of those programs. So.
We have a great league. Obviously, we've had some success. Football, other sports, track. Most recently, 2 national championships in track in the last few years. Our goal there is to be nationally competitive in all that we do, but at the same time have great balance for our student athletes and our coaches, so they can have a life outside of coaching, outside of athletics, making sure our student athletes are getting the assistance they need to get a college degree. That's why they're there. But it's a great environment, and then we're part of a league that is made up of a lot of schools just like us. And we have 24 leagues in Division II, and all of them have their niche. And there's great leagues all over the country, but we're certainly partial and believe the MIAA is one of the best.
You talk about the level of athletics knowledge, right? Experience and knowledge to be an athletic director, to be a commissioner, and I imagine that's what led to you being, now you're on the Division II Management Council, you're the president of the Division II Athletic Directors Association. How do those, your wealth of experience, your wealth of knowledge, the decisions you've had to make affect your participation in those two influential committees?
Yeah, we believe at Pittsburgh State, and I think this is a belief throughout our league, that leadership in the governance structure on the national level is important. It's important personally to grow professionally, but it's also important to our institution to be around the table when the decisions get made about what's going on nationally, and then as a conference we believe that's important. Our president at Pittsburgh State was chair of the Division II President's Council just a couple of years ago, so he's been in those roles as well. Now he's part of the strategic planning initiative for the entire association for the NCAA, and involved in that now. And I've always enjoyed being a part of those activities. That's where you meet great friends. That's where you learn things. Sitting around, here in the hallway and trading stories and ideas. That's the knowledge that is just invaluable. And then at the end of the day, I mentioned making friends. I mean, some of the best friends I have in the world I met through serving in the governance structure on committees, whether it was the men's basketball committee, the football committee, whatever it was. That's where I've made some lifelong friendships, colleagues, people I can call. We believe that the servant leadership part of higher education is extremely important. Our folks on campus understand that. We have a great staff back at home that can keep things running while we go out and represent Pittsburgh State in a setting like what we're here at the convention. So it's just something kind of I've always done. I understood the value and kind of the ins and outs of it by working at the NCAA, and then as I returned to the membership, just felt like that was an important part of doing this job, was to be involved professionally.
You talk about the relationships. You've been as a commissioner for 3 years. You're working with presidents, right? You're 9 years in, so you have a grasp of what you're doing there at Pitt State. But in terms of decisions, do you lean on them now?
Probably lean on other colleague ADs more so. And interestingly enough, I still have great relationships with some guys that are commissioners. Some of the other commissioners that I was a colleague with around that table for 3 years, and still lean on them a lot for advice. But we have Commissioner of our league does a great job, and I work for a great president, and so I still it is interesting when I go to a conference meeting that I have a little bit different relationship with some of those presidents than other ADs might because of the role I was in. We've had some turnover in our league, so some of those presidents that were there from 2007 to 2010 are gone, have retired, moved on. But I think any contact you make in our business, you always file that away, and somewhere down the road probably find an opportunity to use that, because I think we're always learning. Nobody's smarter than anybody else. Everybody just has different experiences.
Right. Well, let's wrap with this along the lines of what you just finished saying. Advice for those either in leadership roles now or those who will potentially be in a leadership role in the near future. Any advice you have, and we'll wrap with that.
I would just say what we've kind of been talking about here is get involved. The best learning experience is sitting in a room with your colleagues and hearing, validating that other people are dealing with the same issues you're dealing with. How are they handling those? Everybody's got great ideas and different circumstances. A lot of times it'll make you feel like nobody's really much different than you are, and that's a positive. But you get good ideas. But I would say, just from a leadership standpoint, do everything you can do to get involved off of your campus or outside of your conference. Get on committees, go to professional development, participate in those opportunities. You're going to make friends, you're going to learn something, and it's going to pay dividends down the road.
All right, which is good advice. Well, Jim, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Well, thanks for having me.
That was Jim Johnson. He's the Director of Athletics at Pitt State. And, of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.